After the Urban Education Cohort Program took a trip to Chicago to tour 4 Chicago public schools, I was left with a few questions. We visited neighborhood, charter, and magnet schools. I was still uneasy about the definition of a charter school and why they were beginning to become more prevalent in urban settings. As a future urban educator, I felt I should know what options are best for students and for a potential working environment for myself. So I started my search. First and foremost, what is a charter school? As defined by Wikipedia, a charter school is a school that receives public money but doesn't answer to a school board, just a certain accountability in each school's charter, but are still a part of the public education system. More simply stated, they get public money but don't have to deal with the politics of education boards, just their charter. That doesn't sound too radical to me, but I know there's a strong debate over these schools, so I wanted to continue my search. I began to look locally. To know if charters were the answer to Detroit Public Schools' problems, I first needed to understand those problems. To start off, Detroit schools are in hundreds of millions of dollars in debt and have corruption in the school boards. As for students, less than 25% of incoming freshmen are expected to graduate from Detroit Public Schools. Emergency Finance Coordinator Robert Bobb intends to close 70 or more public schools and open 45 charter schools. Secretary of Education Arne Duncan says, "When it comes to education, Detroit needs to be more like New Orleans." Duncan is referring to the post-Katrina efforts to fix the New Orleans school system with charter schools. Although this seems to be working for New Orleans, Detroit is not starting from scratch, and it's a different environment. If we look at this situation with a Bronfenbrenner lens, we know that a child's life has many separate systems or environments, and they're interdependent. We also know that development takes place through processes of complex interactions between a person, objects, and symbols and their immediate environment. In other words, school needs to fit into the environment of the students. Next, I looked at the pros and cons of charter schools to see if they fit the needs of Detroit Public Schools. We'll start with the cons. Charters can handpick the students they want to attend, which creates a large gap between student success. With being able to handpick students, ESL and special education students often don't get accepted or receive adequate support. Charter schools set up a rigorous schedule. With this schedule, teachers are often working 60 hours a week, so it's common for those energetic teachers to get burnt out. With selected students and burnt-out teachers, it's easy to see that these schools are simple to open but hard to maintain. The last con about charters I found to be particularly interesting was in a study conducted by Stanford University. When looking at the nation's schools, less than 1/5 of the nation's charter schools offered a better education than traditional public schools, and 37% were significantly worse. On the positive side, charters proved to outperform traditional schools in suburban settings. With celebrity and businessman endorsements comes financial support, and in Detroit, we need all the financial support we can get. Once I gathered all this information, I wondered, so what? Are charters what Detroit has been waiting for? When looking at Detroit's environment, I believe the charter schools may help cut out the corruption problems with budget and the DPS school board. However, I also see that there are deeper problems in the immediate environment of students. So charters alone cannot help. It's what's inside that needs to be altered as well. Kids need to feel safe. According to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, safety is only second to breathing, food, and water. There need to be metal detectors, principals greeting students daily. The school should not only be a safe haven for students, but the entire community. One of the complaints I read most frequently about DPS schools is that parents and students alike don't want to lose a sense of community they have found in their schools. There is not one answer alone that will solve this problem, but teachers like us need to continue to search for an answer.